Right. I'm still alive. Thank you very much. After everything that's going in the space and the world, I think it's good to be alive. Sure. Yeah, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Sure. So, yeah, thank you very much for inviting me over. My background is in research. So, before joining Zilliqa and before doing anything around blockchain, I was in France doing research in security and privacy. So, I was looking into software systems like antivirus, and trying to understand whether what happens when you install a certain antivirus on your system and what sort of data it takes from your system. So, for example, if you have an antivirus, it may scan all the files that you have on your machine, and it may send that information back to a malicious server. So, the idea was to understand what sort of leakage happens and what sort of security and privacy implications are involved when you're using certain software systems. So that was kind of my PhD work, and around that time, blockchains was becoming popular among academia. So people were looking into blockchains and saying, okay, now we are seeing some traction in the space. We are seeing a lot of people using this technology and the Bitcoin and Ethereum, for instance. What are the research challenges in this space? What are the problems that we have to solve from a research perspective, and how can we fix them? So this was sometime around 2018, 2000 sorry 2016, and so I decided to sort of finish my PhD and then decided to work on blockchain research problems. So I moved over to Asia in Singapore, and I decided to work on Monero. So Monero back then was becoming popular as a privacy-preserving currency. Dash was there back then.
Hmm.
Zcash was just being launched, and Monero was there. So it was being used at that point. It was said to be used for all sorts of illicit activities, and people were interested in Monero from a privacy angle.
Hmm.
So it was touted to be one of the very private chains out there, and my idea was to sort of see whether that's true or not. So that was kind of my venture into blockchains. And soon after, my advisor suggested to me that, look, we have been working on this idea of scaling blockchains using sharding. Would you be interested in joining that project with me? And that's kind of how we started to work together. And that project eventually became Zilliqa to scale blockchains like Ethereum.
Awesome. So some of these cryptocurrencies haven't done as well or have survived the test of time, like Dash. That isn't as popular anymore with so many different coins to choose from. Pretty much anyone can make a coin these days. And I would just like to talk about how ZIL is still a pillar in the ecosystem of blockchains and their plans for the future. So I saw this great tweet by you earlier today about the upcoming plans and platforms and onboarding and all these features that are coming out with ZIL. What are you most excited about?
I would say that I'm really excited about Pillar Protocol, which is MakerDAO-like system built on Zilliqa. The good thing about Pillar is that it doesn't have the MKR token. And the reason why we decided to remove MKR token because we felt that, I mean, not we are not building this, by the way, a community member is building it.
Mhm.
But we're excited about that because we felt that MKR token is not necessarily the most useful token out there from a design perspective. So instead of that, what we decided to do, or what the developer decided to do, was to replace that by a token called ZIL, which is a governance token that's built for the entire Zilliqa ecosystem. And the idea behind Diesel was mainly coming from, we had seen Tezos coming up, we had seen projects like Uni, Synthetics, and whatnot, which had launched governance token. And we felt that why every single application token or application project needs to build and have a governance token?
Mhm.
Could we build a token that stays at the protocol level layer, and then you could extend that and use it even at the application layer? So that was kind of the idea behind ZIL. And what Pillar is doing is basically building a MakerDAO-like system where it's replacing MKR token by ZIL token. It gives utility back. So it's one of the applications right now, which is being built on Zilliqa, but it uses a governance token that's at the platform layer. So that's really exciting.
Okay. I want to use ZIL right now. What are the top things to use on ZIL right now?
So there are quite a few things that you can do. One is obviously you can stake. So we have a mechanism where you could put your ZILs to staking 6 nodes, and they'd be able to earn around 14% of returns. On top of that, you also earn ZIL. So these are governance tokens that give you extra incentive. My numbers may not be correct here, but if you add all the incentives together, it's going to probably be over 20% or 30% in terms of returns. So you stake your ZILs, and when you take, let's say, one ZIL as reward, you are also given a certain number of ZIL. So that's the first thing that you can do. We also have a Uniswap-like DEX and AMM-based DEX where you could put your tokens. So there are a lot of tokens out there that have been built and launched on Zilliqa. So you could put liquidity on those tokens. So you have, let's say, you have a token called let's say ZIL. So you could take your ZIL, you could put your ZILs together with that, and you can earn what's called ZWAP tokens. So these are incentive tokens like Uni tokens that you earn if you provide liquidity on the swap. You could use ZIL, for example, to buy NFTs on Mintable. So Mintable is a marketplace similar to OpenSea and all the Rarible, for example, and you could go and buy NFTs using ZILs. Very recently launched another marketplace very specific to sports NFTs. So you could buy Diego Costa, Pepe, and all these 10 well-known players NFTs using ZILs. Pillar, for example, once it comes out, you will be able to put your ZILs as a collateral and then on Pillar stablecoins as well.
Yeah, I noticed you guys were getting multiple partners. I actually own a .zil domain from Unstoppable Domains. And I just thought it was really cool that, the new Web3, lock something in while it's cheap.
Yeah, no, the good thing about .zil is that in a way it's also an NFT, right? Because you can own it, and it's an asset, it's a collectible in some sense. So to be honest with you, if you look at all the NFT projects, at least on Zilliqa, Unstoppable Domains were the first one that can be counted as an NFT.
Yeah.
So we were very excited. We have been working very closely with them. And .zil had a huge success actually for the Zilliqa community and even beyond. Now they have .crypto as well for the broader Ethereum community as well.
Yeah, I like the 3 letters. I want as short as possible, but they charge more for the less amount of
we don't have time to type 2 extra letters down.
Yeah. So could you tell me more about the upcoming projects? I want to know how to build on ZIL. So I know there are very limited resources compared to Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain. So it's really hard to find something user-friendly for me.
Yeah, so right now, just to answer your first question, what are the things that are being built? A lot of things are being built by Zilliqa as well. At the same time, we are also seeing a lot of interest from the community building. So for example, I mentioned that Pillar Protocol is one project that a community member is building, which is a MakerDAO-like system. We have an Ethereum Zilliqa bridge that we are building, where the idea is to be able to bring assets from Ethereum, like USDT, USDC, and bring them over to Zilliqa, and then you'll be able to transfer that, trade them around at a cheaper rate. We have recently launched a marketplace for sports NFTs, but the idea is to expand that and build a more open marketplace as well, where you could do auctions. We have quite a few projects coming from the community around NFTs. So we have Hashmask-like project, I would say, that is being built in the community and by the community. We recently saw projects around building. So we have an exchange called SGX, which is an exchange that allows people to trade security assets. So you could, for example, let's say tokenize private equities. Let's say, for example, SpaceX equities. You could tokenize that and put that on this exchange called SGX, and you could trade them. This exchange has regulatory approval right now, so it's not fully out of the sandbox, but it's there in the process. We recently tokenized a few $100 million, tens of million dollars worth of whiskey from the platform.
Whiskey?
Yeah. So you could actually, you don't have to buy the whole barrel of whiskey, or the cask of whiskey, but you could actually buy a tokenized version of that cask.
Okay. So
So a
would
lot of
you
these
own
projects are
the
being built.
whiskey, or would you own the resale value of whatever it goes into
No,
later,
so
or
you're
the it's
owning a
like the
whiskey. So
stock?
in yes, after a period of time, you could actually claim that whiskey bottle as well. So right now,
Oh,
these whiskey barrels are actually stored in stocked in Scotland. And after a period, once the maturity, it matures, you could actually go and sort of buy the actual physical whiskey
yeah.
if you wanted to. If not, you could actually just trade that token to other people as well. So that's also possible.
Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know about that. I'm gonna look that one up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a whiskey fan, that's a good plan. They have tokenized some really good whiskey. So if
Mhm.
you are into those things, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, long term, let's say someone's having a baby, it's like a 21-year-old barrel. Oh, invest in that one.
And actually, there's a market. I mean, that has not been explored quite yet in the blockchain space as well. But there is a huge market for a luxury, let's say, whiskey and for collection, even wine, for example, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people in Europe and America, they obviously, and even Singapore right now in Asia is becoming a huge market. When I was sort of talking to the party who was sort of manages whiskey for us,
Mhm.
he was basically telling us that there are a lot of people in Asia, India, even Taiwan and other places who are very much into buying and stocking whiskey. There's a quite a good market there for people who want to trade those assets.
Yeah, they love it out here. Like it's more expensive than in LA for like the just general whiskey. I think because everything's imported here.
No, sure. Singapore is not a good place to
Oh, it's so
for
expensive.
alcohol. It's very
Yeah,
expensive,
yeah.
but other countries in Asia for sure, yeah.
Mhm. So that's exciting. Yeah, you had a couple more things. Let me see here. The on-ramp provider. How is that going to work?
So which one?
The on-ramp provider for
The
ZIL.
okay, yeah. So we are working with, again, we have not announced the name yet,
Mhm.
but this on ramp is very classical, where the idea is you could go and these on ramp will be like any crypto on ramp provider, where you can put your, let's say, credit card or debit card and be able to buy crypto assets like ZIL, as well as other assets that are actually being built on Zilliqa. So some of the tokens, ERC20 Lite tokens that are being built on Zilliqa. So this we are planning to sort of integrate that on-ramp provider in different dApps that we have around, including, for example, staking. So imagine, for example, you go to staking and you feel like, oh, I would like to stake a little bit more. You don't have to go to Binance and buy assets. You could actually just use within the portal itself. You could actually go and buy using the on-ramp provider ZILs and then put that ZIL into staking and start earning returns. So it's being developed by and has been proposed by a well-known party. Hopefully, we'll be able to reveal the name very soon.
Oh, awesome. So what's coming up this year that you're excited about? Like,
So
what can we look forward to?
yeah, so we are at a juncture where we have a mainnet that's working. Zilliqa, for the very first time, Zilliqa was and is the first blockchain that had sharding implemented in practice. So now that we have the mainnet up and running, we are sort of working to ways of improving the platform at different levels. One is obviously to make sure that the platform becomes more robust. It can process more transactions. It has low latency. So a lot of work is being done, sort of in this regard. Then the second sort of area of sort of focus is sort of improving, as you mentioned earlier, is improving sort of dev tooling. So when a developer comes on the platform, what are the tools that is available for the developer to start building applications on top of the platform? And the third is sort of ecosystem growth efforts. So making sure that people and the users that we have on our platform today and who are using different applications that are being built, they have more applications to play around with. This is kind of the tweet that you were talking about, and I listed around 10 applications that we ourselves and also community is trying to build to attract developers. You know, the good thing about Zilliqa, I feel, is that if you compare, let's say, even Ethereum applications, some of the applications like on Ethereum, like let's say Dexes,
Mhm.
ZilSwap is a DEX that we had on Ethereum, we had on Zilliqa, let's say 2 or 3 months ago. That DEX, actually, if you look at the number of users using ZilSwap today, it ranks around number 2 or number 3 compared to all DEXs out there on Ethereum. So there's a lot of appetite in our community to actually use applications, and this is kind of why we are seeing a lot of application developers now building to cater to that demand. So which is a good sign and a healthy sign.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, I think to further the development, yeah, there just needs to be more content. Like I search on YouTube, some tutorials, like these things are light, and I wanted to get more involved to see like what can you build, how hard is it to get started, like where does a regular person begin?
Yeah, so we have two sort of mechanisms in which you can get involved. One is if you're generally just interested in what Zilliqa does, and so we often host a program. One of our developer evangelists hosts a program on YouTube where they invite people who are building on Zilliqa so that they could explain to people what they're building and how to use those applications. And then there's a very developer focused sort of content where they teach you how to write smart contracts, how to deploy your first smart contract, how to interact with the backend SDKs, and so on. So there are different kind of content that we already have, but obviously we have to boost little bit more on those fronts, especially also around developer toolkits. So making sure that it's not just the tutorials. You need to have tutorials, but at the same time, you also need all the toolkits that you would need to start building. So a lot of the materials are already on YouTube, but I think we need to put a lot more effort into sort of boosting that even further to make life easier for people.
Yeah, the a couple other platform chains. Some of them are more aggressive with their marketing, so they've seen a lot of growth this year. Uh, Sorry, I'm very tired. It's the end of the day for me,
It's all right.
so my
It's all
mind
right.
is working much slower than usual.
It's all right. No, I mean, if you look at the growth numbers that we have seen for Zilliqa today, it has been beyond ordinary. You could last year in terms of ZIL numbers, so growth numbers for ZIL as a token, we saw around percentage of around 1700% increase compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum that had I think 300% increase. If you look at the number of users actually using some of the applications that we have, I mentioned about ZIL Swap,
Yeah.
which ranks number 2 right now across all dexes out there. It does a trading volume. I mean, on a good day, it does a trading volume around $30 million. Right now, obviously, the market has gone a little bit southwards. But overall, on a good day, it does substantial volume. It is ranked around 25, 23. If you rank all the dexes out there, rank them by the volume that they trade. In terms of TVL, it had around a TVL of around $20 million a couple of weeks ago, which puts it at number 7, number 5 or number 7 in terms of ranking. So I would say that a lot of applications have shown promise on Zilliqa blockchain, and people are actually developing and using some of these chains. If you just compare the number of people today using Ethereum, number of people who actually hold Ether, around 1% of people who actually own Ether actually use Ethereum for anything.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
It's so expensive, and also that there's a developer sort of, I would say there's a user experience issues, right? People, there are a lot of people, token holders, we are not able to convert them into users. And that's kind of a bigger challenge that this entire space is facing, that we have a lot of token holders. We're hoping that these token holders will convert, but in fact, it's very difficult for us to convert these token holders into users. And that's kind of, I'm seeing that's a very different sort of scenario in case of Zilliqa. We are seeing around 10% of our token holders actually are users. In case of Ethereum, that's around 1%. So, which is kind of a good sign. So I would say that we are in a good growth. We have a good growth trajectory, and that is going to continue as we move along.
Very awesome. I think there was like a couple blockchain games that actually reached out to me that were using their ZIL as one of their merchant tokens. I forgot what they call it when they use the token as like discounts within their platform and also governance. That one escapes me, but it's one of the other things that they're building on ZIL. Now,
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that are not public yet.
Oh, okay.
One from some of these things are not public from Zilliqa, and some of these projects are actually being by a community, and I'm sure that they would. And I'm seeing inbounds where people are sending me some of the applications and asking me to, would you be interested in checking out what we're building? Unfortunately, I can't make them public yet. That would destroy their own work. But I'm already seeing quite a few applications being built by the community that's still in stealth mode. Let's put it that way, which will go public very soon.
Oh, very excited. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about ZIL before we open this up to questions? People let us know your questions in the comments now. I get this weird feedback, so I have to take off the
Yeah, one thing that I would like to sort of highlight to people is that for those who are familiar with Ethereum and EIP, the most recent EIP around fees burning, we have something implemented in Zilliqa already, which means that if you send a transaction on Zilliqa today, whatever fees you pay to the network to process that transaction, that fee doesn't go to miners. that fee actually gets taken out of circulation. So it means that there is a value accrual directly built in. So the more transactions get processed by the network, the more fees get taken out of circulation, and that fees basically helps all token holders because the supply goes down. So that's something that I would like to highlight, and that's kind of what is also driving some of the activity as well. So people and the community are seeing that if I transact more with the chain, that helps everyone. So that's a good benefit that people are seeing.
Deflationary. Just to simplify that for the audience there.
Right.
Oh, there is an echo. Okay, so that is happening, and it's bothering me in my headset. So, Amrit, so this is throwing me off. I'm going to take this off for a moment. Yeah, I'm very happy that you were able to come on here. I'd love to catch up in maybe 6 months or a year, get an update of what's happening with ZIL, the news around it, and I look forward to seeing the growth on the platform. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, so I would suggest you to and the community to check out some of the ecosystem growth reports that we've been pushing out. So every quarter we push out an ecosystem growth report, and the numbers are always out of the park. So check out those ecosystem growth reports, and I'm sure you would love what we're doing.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me on this channel, and until the